guess, web show. So, yeah, here we go. One of the things that I love most in this world is collecting and telling stories. I have a huge passion for storytelling, and that's kind of what I wanted to center this experience around, is telling stories to people. And I don't really have a set schedule for how often I'm going to do this, but we'll work it out and I'll put it up on the YouTube or whatever, and we'll go from there. Hmm. And I would love to hear your stories as well. Let's see here. I have a friend group, and we meet every Saturday to play Dungeons and Dragons, which is natural for me because I'm a storyteller. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm a little bit nervous because, like I said, I've never done anything like this before, but we'll see how it goes. As you can see, my setup here is kind of crude. And welcome. Thank you for joining us this evening, one viewer. Glad to have you here. We're collecting and telling stories. If you have a story to tell, you can see right down there that I've got an email link for you to send stories to. I've got my phone right here. I'll read your stories. I'll tell some of my own. So, I guess without further ado, let's have a story. Okay. Story number one. Let's see here. I'm gonna try to keep this as PG-13 as possible. I don't want to go all out with super crazy stuff and offend people. That's not what I'm all about. Huh? If you're here to relax, just listen to a story. That's what it's all about. Um, so let's get right into one of my favorite stories from my childhood. I like to call this one the Little Yellow Wagon. So what happened is when I was younger, my parents bought this little yellow wagon, and oh, what's up, Chris? It's you. How are you doing on this fine evening, my friend? I forgot you were subscribed to my YouTube channel. Is that where you're watching this from right now? Yeah, I finally figured out how to actually broadcast from my PlayStation, so here I am, doing it. Having a beer here with the Storytime. I got the nice little banner up here. Hold on, give me a second. Let me turn this AC off. Have you never seen the man cave before? This is what I've been for the last 5 months. Yeah, this is the setup I'm working with. It's not too bad. It's a pretty solid man cave. I got everything I could need out here, minus a bathroom, which just a little bit of a downside. How's my audio? Is the audio coming through okay? I got some music set up. I'm trying to put on a relaxing mood here. Uh, I'm drinking, of course, to take the edge off of broadcasting on the internet. Okay, kind of hard to hear me. Alright, I can fix that. Give me just a second. Let me just adjust this microphone. Okay, let's see here. That should be a decent level right there. How's that? Is that too loud? Okay, I turned up the microphone volume a little bit. That should be good. Let's go to YouTube, I guess, and take a look at me. Oh, okay, much better. Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for helping me out. I appreciate you being here for my first broadcast, I guess. So we're just chilling in the man cave, having some beer. You know, it's I couldn't think of anything better to do with my time than to sit here with the internet and speak about things. We had a viewer, but they disappeared, I see. If you join a party, actually, it will throw you in here. Ah, well, thank you. It's just the basic PlayStation camera. You know, that'd be a good thing to do. We could have people come in and talk, or I could have people come in and talk with me, because it'll record the party audio as well. Welcome, viewer number 2. Thank you for joining me on this fantastic evening. Oh, they're gone now. Got my little robot buddies up here promoting what I'm doing. Okay, I didn't really prepare any talking points, so I don't really know exactly what I'm doing, but I figure the longer we go, the easier it'll get, you know? Give me just a second. Let me adjust something. Alright, man. I'm just going to adjust something really quickly. Let's see. Let's see here. Let's see. Don't change the background. And there we go. Okay. There. Now that's much better. Welcome, Big Smoke. Thank you for joining us this evening. I see you're doing well. We're here to just tell some stories and relax together. That's what it's all about, man. So I'm just gonna jump right into it and tell a story from my childhood. It's one of my favorite stories, and I like to call it the Little Yellow Wagon. And so when I was younger, we used to have this little yellow wagon that my father had bought, and my mom is in a wheelchair, so we used to have a ramp, a wooden ramp that ran down the front porch, and so we would take this little yellow wagon and we would run it down the porch. You know, we used to run stuff down that ramp all the time. Bicycles, tricycles we had no business being on, and this little yellow wagon. So one day we figured out while we were riding down the ramp in this little yellow wagon that if you hold the handle like so and tilt it back and forth, you can actually steer this wagon down the ramp. And there's this big hill out behind the house. I'm talking, it's a huge hill. We used to take stuff down that hill all the time too. You know, just ridiculous stuff we had no business being on. I think one time we took those little plastic cars that little kids ride in. You know, those little Fisher Price cars. We took one of those down the hill. Needless to say, that ended very badly. But we decided we were going to take this wagon down the hill. And so the idea was, since we could steer it a little bit, that's how we were going to drive. And my friend Jose, he was going to sit in the back, and he had 2 sticks in his hands, and those 2 sticks were supposed to be the brakes. So if once we started going too fast and we wanted to stop, Jose was supposed to take the sticks, press them into the back wheels, and bring us slowly and gently to a halt. That was the plan, anyway. So we get the wagon. We come to the top of the hill. I can see just this giant curvature of the hill staring me in the face as I sat at the helm with my little handle in my hands. That's what they all call me, Eric. Thank you for joining us. So here I am, sat at the helm of this wagon with the handles, and Jose's in the back. He's got the 2 sticks. We're ready to do this. Our friend John, he pushes us, and we begin to move toward the hill. And right as we hit the point of no return on the hill, hey, thanks, Eric. I appreciate that. You're cool too. I don't know you, but I'm pretty sure you're a great guy. So we hit the crest of the hill in this wagon. I see my destiny. I'm ready to achieve greatness, and I will have a story to tell everyone once this is over how we rode down the hill in this little wagon and survived. So we start picking up speed, and right as we hit the point of no return, I feel the wagon jostle, and I turn around. My brakes have abandoned me. All I hear as I swoop down the hill is, "Sorry, bro." And so here I go, full speed down this hill in this shaking wagon, just gripping onto the handle as tight as I can, hoping for the best once I hit the bottom. But I'm picking up speed faster than I know what to do with. And so I see that I have 2 options in front of me. The hill kind of comes to a little intersection, and right on the other side of the intersection is houses. And so right at the end of the hill, across the street, there is a van parked right at the very end of the driveway. And I see that I'm going to ram straight into this van if I don't come up with something. The other option is the curb off to the side. I could either plow full speed into this van, or I could hit the curb and hope that I did not fly into the stop sign. I chose the latter option. I grab the handles, twist as hard as I can, and careen straight into the curb. I go flying. The wagon goes flying, and all I can see is ground, and then sky, and then ground, and then sky. And suddenly I come to a halt, staring at the blue expanse of the sky. And a few houses down, there are a bunch of older dudes out there drinking beers, and they're just dying laughing, having witnessed this this scene of this stupid kid plowing into the side of the curb in a wagon of all things, which I can imagine would be pretty funny from an outside perspective. So as they're all laughing at me, I pick up my shattered pride and wheel the wagon back home. The wagon's totally destroyed, by the way. It's unsalvageable. The wheels are broken. It's a crumpled mess of what used to be a wagon. So I wheel this thing back home, knowing that my dad was going to kill me for what I'd done to this thing. I can't even look at my friends because he abandoned me in my time of need with the 2 sticks that were supposed to be the brakes. And yeah, my dad was furious. I destroyed this brand new wagon that he just bought like a week before that he was going to use for like lawn work and stuff. It was gone, unsalvageable. Yeah, but I came out okay. So that's my story of the little yellow wagon. Pardon me while I grab myself another drink. My last beer. It's Anti-Gator, 8%. It's not bad. If you enjoy the music here, it's Chilled Cow on YouTube. You should check him out. He does some pretty good lo-fi streams all the time. I really enjoy them. Okay, so that was my story. I believe I'm just gonna talk for a while now. I guess this is like what, intermission or something. Oh, welcome. Thank you for joining us this evening. It's nice to have you here. Welcome to Failure's Storytime. Should also ask the viewers for picks to discuss or debate games, music, etc. Yeah, That's a good idea. I've got the link right down here to this email that I just created that you can send me things to. Let me go ahead and open that up real quick. Okay, it's still empty. But yeah, if anybody wants to send stories down here or anything, we have an email link. I will read your stories, which I'm sure there's some fantastic ones. The thing about me is I love collecting and telling stories. It's a great passion of mine, which is why I decided to become a dungeon master in the first place. Is so I could create stories that players of mine could live and interact with. It's a fantastic experience. A group of me and my friends, we do this every Saturday. We play Dungeons and Dragons right here in this room. I don't know, maybe I'll throw some of that up one of these weeks, and you could check that out. That'd be interesting. They're a fun bunch of dudes, I tell you. Welcome. Thank you for joining me, viewer number 2. Glad to have you here. Welcome to Failure Storytime. If you have stories of your own, I would love to hear them. I have a little link to an email down here where you can send me a story if you like, and I'll read it. What I was originally planning for this was actually reading a book or something, but I decided I'd just come on here and tell stories. You know, it's one of the things that I really enjoy most, as I've said. Let's see here. Yes, I have another story. I don't really have a name for this one. What's your favorite thing to collect? My favorite thing to collect? Stories, definitely. I've collected stories from friends, from strangers. I like to go out and get really hammered downtown once a week and just go up to strangers and ask them for stories. Most of the time, people have no idea how to react. They freeze up. They can't think of a story. But every now and again, you'll get a little gem, and I'm sure some of them will come to me the longer I think on it. Okay, I have another story. Let's see here. Just give me a minute to get it all wound up in my head. This is another one of my favorite stories. Uh, it involves myself, my friend Jose again, and my friend John again. This was back when we were in like middle school, I think. But there was this girl that lived up the street from us a few ways. My friend John had a huge crush on her. So one of our favorite activities between my friend group is we would wander the streets of our town constantly. Alright, good night, Chris. See you later. Visit us in Cape Girardeau. Was it Missouri? Montana? You know, I'm down in Georgia. I don't think I can get out all the way out there. I did take a road trip here recently where me and a buddy of mine drove across the country to California and back. That was fun. One of the highlights of that trip was stopping in Louisiana and seeing a friend of mine that I hadn't seen in many years. That was an interesting experience. If you've never taken a road trip before, I highly recommend it. It is so relaxing and oh, Missouri, right. I'm terrible with the states. I'm kind of stupid, I'm going to be honest with you. But glad to have you here regardless. I'd like to get out that way. Missouri. I don't even know where that is, to be honest with you, Shane. But anyway, let me get back to the story. So, me and my friends, one of our favorite activities was to walk the streets at night. You know, we were bored teenagers. We had nothing better to do, so we would walk all over town, and that's how we spent our time. Do you have any party stories? Like maybe someone put drugs. I I do actually. In their ass. No, I don't have a story quite like that, but I do have a drug story. If you would like to hear it, it's it's the worst time. Like I used to do LSD quite often, and I don't do drugs anymore. By the way, I've put all this shit behind me. But I used to do LSD back in the day, and yeah, this is the story that kind of put that on the decline for me. If you'd like to hear that one, this is the reason I stopped doing it. Okay, I'll tell that one to you, Shane. Yes, it was acid. I'll tell that one to you because it is a fantastic story. I love to tell that story. Okay, so me and my friend were hanging out at his house, and we were gonna do some acid, because all right, we were gonna do some acid because why not? We were bored. It was a weekend. Hadn't done it in a while, and so we were gonna do some. So a buddy of mine also decided to show up, and he brought his girlfriend with him, and it was a little more people than we were expecting, but whatever. It was cool. We were all gonna drop, and we were gonna have a great time. So, we put it on some bubble gum of all things. We drop it in the bubble gum, and then we all eat it, and it takes about half an hour for it to kick in or whatever. So we're sitting there, and for the first half hour, we're all having a great time. We're watching dumb stuff on YouTube. We're laughing, cutting up. It's great. The colors are starting to kick in and whatnot. And then suddenly she sits up and she's like, "Oh my God, guys, are we okay right now?" and I think to myself, okay, I know what I've read about this. I know how to deal with this. This is what is called a bad trip. I know what to do in this situation. So what I tried to do was isolate her from all the noise and all the stuff that was going on, so she wouldn't like freak out or whatever, because we were in an apartment complex. It was like a quad complex, and we were like top right, I guess, if you're looking at it from the front. And so I think I know how to keep her from freaking out. We're gonna take her back into the back room where it's quiet, put on a fan for some white noise or whatever, and I'm just gonna talk gently to her to keep her calmed down, because she's freaking out. I mean, she thought, poor girl thought she was like burning in hell or something. It was terrible. And you keep in mind that we were all tripping balls at this point in time. And so I'm trying to talk her down out of it, and it seems to be working. She's freaking out only every once in a while, but I managed to keep her calm, just gently speaking to her and whatnot. And I can hear my friends out here playing video games. And so eventually the video games noises stop, and one of the guys comes in the bedroom, and he looks at her dead in the face, and he's like, "If you could stop ruining everybody's night, that'd be great," all like angry and stuff. So I'm thinking to myself, whoa. Meanwhile, she has 3 heads. I really don't want to know what was going through her mind. I do not want to be anywhere near that. So anyway, he comes in. He's like, "If you could stop ruining everybody's night, that'd be great." And I'm thinking, I tell him, I'm like, whoa. She's having a bad trip. We gotta be calm with this. We gotta keep it together right now. And so I tell my friend, I'm like, "Okay, you watch her. I'm gonna go out and smoke a cigarette. But just remember, you gotta speak calmly. You gotta be calm right now, because she's gonna freak out if you're not calm." So I go outside, leave him to his girlfriend. I go outside, smoke a cigarette, and my other buddy, the one who we were going to do this with originally, can you please shout out to my friend Nick Gurr? Oh my God, I can't believe I fell for that. You bastard, I can't believe I fell for that. I see that shit all the time on like Twitch fail compilations and stuff, and I actually fell for it. You're welcome for that, by the way. No, it's good. That was my fault. I should know better. But this is my first time doing something like this. Okay, you got me. Anyway, on with the story. So I'm outside smoking a cigarette. My friend who I was going to his house originally comes outside, and he's smoking a cigarette with me, and we're out there talking. Like, this is getting a little heavy, you know. I don't. What are we gonna do? So eventually, the chick's boyfriend comes out, and he's like, yeah. So she tried to attack your ceiling fan, and we're like, okay. And he's like, but don't worry. I slammed her on the ground and held her down so she wouldn't do that. And I'm like, whoa, that sounds a little intense. And he's like, I know it sounds bad. And we stop him right there, and we're like, yes, that does. That sounds really bad. So he goes back inside. My friend looks at me, and he's like, we'll call him Joe. My friend Joe looks at me, and he says, I'm gonna go inside and I'm gonna deal with this, you know, because this is getting a little too crazy, and I don't want them in my apartment with all this craziness. So he goes inside. I'm still standing outside smoking a cigarette on the back porch when, oh my God, suddenly I hear it. This blood-curdling scream just pierces through the night. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this is it. This is it, man. She's screaming in the middle of the night. It's like 2 in the morning. She's screaming at the top of her lungs in a quad complex. And it's over, you know. And my buddy Joe comes back outside, and he is just he's shaking, and he puts his hand on my shoulder, and he's like, "Give me another one of the damn cigarettes, and I want you to go inside that house, and I want you to look at that scene." And it's about this time we start hearing sirens, just whew, whew, off in the distance, and I'm thinking, "Oh my God, what have we gotten ourselves into?" Yeah. Turns out it was just an ambulance going by because it was on like one of the main roads, just off one of the main roads of the town. It was just an ambulance, so got away with that one. But still, I was unnerved. I tell you, unnerved. So anyway, I do what my buddy says. He wants me to go back inside and look at the scene. So I go back inside and I look at the scene. This guy has this chick pinned on the ground with his hand over her mouth, telling her, I'm gonna need you to calm down, you know, and I'm like, whoa, that's, what is going on in here? And he gets off of her, and she's topless. Like, I have no idea what happened, but she's topless right now, so I pick her shirt up, but it's one of those weird spaghetti strap things, and I have no idea how to figure that out. I'm trying to figure how to get it inside out and untangled, but I can't figure it out, so I just put it down. And pick her jacket up, and I put the jacket on her, you know, trying to clothe her again. And I sit her down on the couch, and I'm trying to talk calmly to her, keep her calm. But that's when my buddy Joe comes back in. He's like, okay, you two gotta go. This is getting too crazy, and I can't have this in my house. You guys gotta leave. And I feel bad for doing that, but, you know, it was my buddy's house. It's his rules. What are you gonna do? We're high as balls at this point. So we usher them out the door, I guess you could say, and we shut the door behind them. And you can hear them arguing out in the hall for a few minutes before footsteps recede down the stairs. And a few minutes pass, and it gets real quiet. And we're thinking, are they gone? You know, is it finally over? So I go peek out the window, peek through the blinds. We're on the second floor, and I go peek through the blinds and look down into the parking lot below, and his van is still there. And I'm like, dude, his van is still out there, you know? So we press our ear to the door, and you can hear her just like muttering things to herself out in the darkness of the foyer beyond the door. And I'm like, oh my God. So I get my phone and I text my buddy. I'm like, hey, please collect your lady friend and depart the premises, you know? So a few minutes pass and we hear footsteps coming up the doorway again, and we hear them bickering beyond the door. And finally the footsteps recede, and I look out the window and the van is backing out and driving off. So I look at my buddy Joe and I'm like, he took her with him, right? Like, she's not still standing out beyond the door, is she? So my buddy Joe goes to the door and he puts his hand on the knob. Okay, he's standing at the door and the door swings inward, and I'm standing here, so I wouldn't be able to see anything once the door opened. And so he puts his hand on the knob and he looks at me and he's like, "I'm scared." And then he unlocks the door, opens it up, and I see him reach out, and he comes back in, and he's got her shirt in his hand again, and he puts the shirt down, and he reaches back out, and he comes back in with her shoes, and he puts those down, and he reaches out again, comes back in with her purse, and puts it down, reaches out one more time, and there's the rest of her clothes. Like, all of her clothes. Every garment that this woman was wearing is in the foyer outside my buddy's door. So, and they're all wet. Why are they wet? I don't know. So, so we put them all in a trash bag. We gather up all their stuff that was left over. We put it in a trash bag and we put it in the kitchen. And, yeah. We tried to enjoy the rest of the night. But I don't think it was... We would just sit there in silence for like half an hour at a time, trying to enjoy the rest of the night, or the rest of the trip even. And the only thing we keep going back to is, bro, that shit was crazy. How did we get ourselves into that situation? But yeah, that was one of the last times I ever did acid because of that. I never saw that guy again. As a matter of fact, I wish I could tell him, like, you know, I don't want any ill will from that situation, you know. But that was fucking crazy. So that's my LSD story right there for you. That's another crazy story that I got, and it's part of the continuing saga on why I don't go out. See you later, Shane. Love you too. You have a good evening. Glad you could stick around for the story. Well, I ain't doing acid. I mean, it's all about the set and setting, man. You gotta know where you are, and you gotta know the people you're with. That's the most important thing. But yeah, that's all there is. That's all there is to it. You mean, you never know what you're gonna get. It's kind of like a grab bag of emotions, I guess. That's definitely one of my wilder stories, I suppose, that I have to tell. Any requests from the audience? I have more stories that involve mostly drinking with coworkers and stuff, and that's part of the ongoing saga of why I don't go out and like get drunk or do things with coworkers other than like, I don't know, like recreational activities like walking around the park or playing Dungeons and Dragons or some shit like that. Once alcohol gets involved or any substance that alters the mind, I guess, the cards are off the table. I can't do it no more. I keep getting myself into these situations where I'm like, how the hell did I get into this situation? I guess with that, well, I'm going to take a short intermission. I've been streaming now for 34 minutes. I'm going to take a quick break, and I will be right back. Maybe 2 minutes tops. for bearing with me during the intermission. I'm gonna have to get something entertaining up here for when I go off like that, so people aren't like, so you guys aren't just like sitting around waiting for me to get backstage. Well, I got music going, I guess, but I like to have something a little more interesting than that. Let's see here. Do I have any more good stories like that? Yeah, most of, okay. I have another one that involves alcohol. Um, if you would like to hear that, it's another one of those crazy stories where I wondered to myself, how do I get in these situations? Okay, so I guess let's just jump right into it because I don't have anything else going on. Thank you for joining me for this next story. Let's see here. Several years ago, I used to work for a steel mill, and we would make brake shoes for like semi trucks and stuff. I used to run the welding lines and whatnot, but um, there was this guy there that I ended up befriending, and we decided we were going to hang out after work one day. He invited me over to his place. We were going to go drink, and we were going to have a good time. You know, we'd hung out a time or two before, and it ended up good. He was kind of weird, but you know, it always turned out all right. So we stopped by the gas station, pick up a couple of 40s, God, and go back to his house and to drink them, I guess. And this is when I found out that he was actually living with another coworker of ours, some woman that had worked there. So we get back to their house, and we go inside. We pop open our drinks and start drinking, having a decent time. She's in the other room watching a movie or something. So we're drinking at the kitchen table, talking about work and whatnot, and then he decides he's going to, I guess, pop a bunch. I think they were like Xanax or something. He was prescribed them, but you know, you're not supposed to do Xanax when you're drinking. That's just a given. But you know, this guy, he does it anyway. So he pops like a handful of Xanax, and we continue drinking. Next thing I know, he's in the middle of a sentence and just falls out and lands with a thud in the floor. And I'm like, holy shit. And the chick in the next room, she's like, oh my God, are you okay? And he pulls himself back into the chair and sits down, and he's like, yeah, I'm fine. It's no problem. So we go back to drinking, cutting up and talking. And he goes into the kitchen, fixes himself a slice of cake, comes back, and he's eating the cake. And he doesn't finish it. And he goes and puts the whole thing in the sink. Cake, spoon, plate, and all. And the chick comes into the kitchen later and sees the cake laying in the sink. So she asked him, she's like, hey, you know, you can't just leave the cake in the sink. You know, you gotta throw that in the trash or something. Anyway, that starts a whole thing. He's completely unreasonable. Some harsh words end up being said. And she's like, that's it. I can't take this anymore. You gotta get out of my house. You gotta go. She turns to me. She's like, I know he rode with you. You gotta go. I'm sorry, but he cannot be in my house anymore. I'm hammered by this point. You know, it doesn't take a whole lot for me to get drunk, and I'd already downed a whole 40. So I'm thinking, fuck. You know, now I gotta drive a car. So we go get in my truck. I had an old truck, and it was a manual transmission, which was more difficult. I'd only been driving it for several weeks at this point. First manual transmission I'd ever owned. So we get in the car. I'm wondering where I'm going to go with this guy. And he says, just take me to my parents' house. You know, they live on the other side of town. It'll be all right. So I'm like, great. You know, I got to go that way anyway. So we get in the truck. Somehow we make it all the way across town to his parents' house. This was maybe a half-hour drive or something. Anyway, we get all the way across town to his parents' house, and it was definitely not what I was expecting. His parents had a big 2-story house in a nice, quaint little neighborhood. So I pull him back into the house, and he gets out and he's like, wait right here, I'll be right back. So he goes into his parents' house, and I don't know what happens, but he comes back out a few minutes later, and he sits down in the truck, and he's like, hey man, you think you can take me over back across town so I can meet a guy to get some weed or something? So I tell him, like, man, I can't get involved in that kind of stuff. I got a job to think about. I got a life to pursue. And he says, oh man, everybody's letting me down today. Hold on, I'll be right back. So he gets out of my truck again and goes back into his parents' house. And I think to myself, it's time to leave. I'm not going to be party to this anymore because this is getting out of control. So I pull out of the driveway, and right as I do, this car pulls up next to me, and an old man rolls the window down, and he says, excuse me, but can I help you, young man? And I tell him, I'm like, let's call this guy Sid. We'll call him Sid. So I tell him, oh yeah, man, I'm just dropping Sid off. He said he wanted to get a ride to his parents' house. And the old man kind of shakes his head and looks at me, and he's like, oh, I wish you wouldn't have done that. And I say, why not? And he's like, that boy Sid, he's a bad seed. Wait right here, I'm calling the police. So he pulls into the house, and keep in mind, I'm pretty drunk at this point. So I ain't doing this Sid. Exactly, don't do a Sid. Don't be like Sid. So I say to myself, I've had enough. I can't put up with this anymore, and I'm definitely not waiting for any police that are showing up. So I get in my truck and zip down the road, zigzagging, taking all the back roads home just in case somebody's following me. Nobody's following me. And I make it home, and that guy was at work the next week, but he never said anything about what had happened after that. And I never knew how that quite came out, but apparently I don't know, I guess it was his grandpa or something. They did not want him in that house because he was a bad seed. So that's that story, and that is also part of the ongoing saga of why I do not drink with coworkers anymore. Yeah, we're only 40 minutes into the stream, and I'm already telling some of my best stories here. Let's see. If anybody has a story they want me to read, I have a link to an email address that I just created down here, where you can send me your stories, and I will actually try to read them on the stream. One of my favorite things is to collect and tell stories from people, strangers, friends, whoever it may be. And I would love to have this little channel, I guess, centered around all that. I think it would be fantastic to collect stories from people and then read them for the people that are watching me and whatnot. But I guess until then, I'll just continue to tell some of my own stories. Okay, let's see here. Okay, I have another one. It's also part of the saga of why I don't drink with coworkers. Okay, here goes. So the job I work at now, I work in a carpet factory, and I got pretty good. I got in pretty good with some of my bosses and whatnot, and I was about to leave the shift to go from a night shift to a day shift, and my boss and one of the other guys was like, we should throw a party, we should go out and celebrate your last night here, because you're leaving us next week. And I'm thinking, yeah, that's a great idea, I like drinking, we'll go out, we'll have a few beers, have a good time. And he's like, yeah, we'll meet downtown. Yeah, sure, why not, that sounds great, we'll meet downtown, and we'll have a great time, have beers, whatever. So we agree on a time and a place, and I go downtown to meet up with them. I arrive on time, and my boss and the other coworker, let's see here, let's come up with some names for them real quick, because I don't like using real names of these people, because these are kind of embarrassing stories and whatnot. So we'll call them, we'll say my boss is Gil, and the coworker is I don't know. Let's go with Fred, Gil and Fred. So I'm downtown waiting for Gil and Fred to show up. When a car pulls up next to me, I'm sitting on a bench next to the road, and the car pulls up, and they're like, "Yo, failure, get in, man. I left my wallet at home," says Gil. "We gotta go back and get it." So I'm thinking, we agreed on meeting here, you know. You didn't bring your wallet? He's like, "No, get in the car. We gotta go back to my house and pick up my wallet, man." So, whatever. So we get in his car, drive all the way back out to the sticks just to get this man's wallet. And we get back to his house. He lives in a fairly nice house in a fairly nice neighborhood. But we get back to his house, and he pours like tequila all around for us, and like, we all crack beers. I think I took like a shot of tequila and drank one beer, but these guys were like pounding the beers and drinking the tequila. And I say to him, "I thought we were gonna go downtown to drink, not get drunk here." And he's like, "Yeah, man, we're just pre-gaming it," Sid tells me. And I'm like, "Okay." And he pours another round of vodka or whatever the fuck it was. I'm gonna assume it was tequila. That's right, that's what it was. It was tequila. He pours another round of tequila, and I'm like, "I'm not drinking that, because we're gonna go drink downtown in a few minutes." So, got it. And Fred takes my shot and his shot, and this guy's drunk. Sid's drunk. Is that what I named him? No, it was Gil. Right, my boss, Gil. He's drunk. Fred's drunk. I'm getting there. So, we get in his car. They finally decide we're going to leave and we're going to go downtown and drink. So we get back in his car. I offer to drive because I'm the most sober person in the group right now. And I offer to drive, but they don't trust me. He's like, "No, you're too drunk. You're way too drunk. I'll drive." They both got open beers in their hands. And I'm sitting in the back seat. They're doing 70 miles an hour down the fucking highway, blaring, blaring Starboy by the Weekend as loud as they possibly can, singing along, swinging the beers around. And I'm just in the back seat thinking to myself, "This is it. I've made my peace. I'm ready to go." But luckily, we make it downtown with no incidents. And we get to a bar, have a few more drinks, hop over to another bar. They decide that's lame, so we go to another bar and have a few more drinks. The dude pours us some kind of like little blue shots, and they put these big ass margaritas down. I take the shot, but I don't touch the margarita. And I turn to Fred, and I tell him, "Don't drink too much, man, because you got to know what your limits are." I'll never forget what Fred said to me. He turns to me, he looks me dead in the face, and he says, the wisest words I've ever heard out of this man, let me tell you. And so we finally finished drinking up there, and we decided we're going to go to this club. And this is where all the problems started. I don't know what happened, but we decided we're going to go to this club that's a few streets down. So we hit the club. It's like a $10 cover charge just to get in the door. And we all pay up. We hit the club. We go upstairs. There's this bumping rap music playing and whatnot, and people are dancing, trying to hook up. And my boss, I forgot what I named him already. Fred and Gil were just sitting in the corner hanging out. And I go order another beer, and I have a beer. I'm getting pretty drunk by this point. And I decide, if they're just going to sit there, I'm going to go have fun. Now, keep in mind, I have no idea how to dance. I don't know how to dance. I'm not a dancer. I'm very stiff. The best I can do is, I guess, look like I'm having a seizure. But, fuck it. I get out there. I run out on the floor. I start flailing around like an imbecile, and people are backing away from me, clearing a space open. But fuck it, I'm having fun. I'm out. That's what I came out for, was to have fun. And these two were just sitting in a corner, doing whatever. So eventually, I get tired, and I go back to the back to smoke a cigarette. Some dude comes back there, and he's like, "Yo, bro, you were getting crunk back up on the dance floor, huh?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I guess I was, So we start talking. We're having a good time, and finally, a police officer pokes his head in the door of the smoking room, and he points me out, and he's like, "Hey, you, And I look at him. I'm like, yeah. He's like, those two guys you were with, we had to throw them out because they were harassing some of our ladies. Now, I can't believe it. These are grown men. You know, they should know better. So I'm like, I drove myself here. They'll be fine. They got their own vehicle, they'll be fine. So I go back to smoking my cigarette and talking with these dudes. A good, maybe 10, 15 minutes goes by when the bouncer from downstairs pokes his head in the door. He's like, hey, you, can I talk to you in private for a second? So I'm confused, but I agree. He takes me back to the VIP room, and he shuts the door. And he's like, those two guys you were with? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, yeah, well, they are downstairs right now arguing with the city police, and they are both way too drunk to drive. So I'm like, oh shit. I guess I better do something. I can't let him go to jail. That's my boss. So I stagger my way downstairs. I'm kind of sober at this point, sober enough to operate a vehicle anyway. So I go downstairs. Sure enough, they're in a confrontation with the police. My boss, Gil, is just yelling at the police officer. And not Sid, but Fred sees me, and he says, I guess he kind of got some of his charisma back or whatever. So he's telling Gil, he's like, come on, man, we gotta go. Forget this. Let's just leave. So I scoop these two drunkards up. We get about halfway back to my truck when Gil stops us and he's like, wait, man, wait. Right here. And he goes up to this blue truck, and I'm thinking, that's not my truck. But that's not what he had in mind, apparently. He just whips it out right then and there and starts pissing all over the side of this truck. It's just right on the side of the road, and he's pissing all over it. A street over, there's the police have somebody pulled over or some shit. He's just pissing right there. One day you should tell the knocking on the door story, but with a certain... Oh, God. I thought you were gone, Chris. Yeah, I'll tell the knocking on the door story one of these days. But anyway, it involves the same people, too, by the way. Anyway, he's just pissing all over the side of this truck. And, it seems like it took an eternity for him to be done pissing on this truck. I'm sitting on a bench, just like, this man is going away tonight, I guess. But, nothing bad happened. He finished up, came back to me, I rounded him back up, we got into my truck, and I start driving him home, but I can't remember where the man's address is. He's like, someone, who do you look like? Jesus? I've got that plenty of times. It's gotta be Jesus, right? Bless you, my child, and all that and whatnot. So we get back into my truck. It's a fairly tiny truck, but I managed to stuff both these guys in there and myself, and we start driving back home, and I turn to, it's gotta be Jesus, Jamie. That's who it's gotta be. They've been calling me that since I was a wee lad. So, I stuff these guys in my truck. We get back on the road, and I turn to Fred, and I say, where's Gil's house? And of course he mutters nonsense at me because he's drunk out of his mind. He was wearing a jacket that wasn't even his. I don't know, we couldn't figure out the next day what had happened to his jacket. So I wake my boss up and I'm like, yo, Gil, man, where's your house? And he looks up, he sits up real fast and he's like, it's the same one, failure. It's the same one. And he passes back out. And luckily I was somehow able to find this man's house just by I swear I got a GPS built into my brain, man. But I find this guy's house. I get him home, tuck him in bed, and then I go home myself. Yeah, that's the end of that story. That's still part of the reason why I don't, not Jesus, some actor. Sorry, I'm interrupting your story. Nah, it's fine, Jamie. I'm glad you're here. I've just reached the conclusion of the story anyway. Some actor, you say? Well, I guess as long as it's not like Pee Wee Herman or something, I'll take it as a compliment. Let's see here. I think that pretty much expends all the stories I have for the evening. Uh, I want to thank you for joining me on this night. If you have a story of your own to tell, I have an email address right down here at the bottom of the screen. You can send me your story, and I'll read it one of these days. I don't know how regularly I plan on doing this because this was just kind of like a spur of the moment thing. But you know, we'll work something out. I'll put a video up on YouTube or something. You can find me on YouTube by the same name. You can find me on here, Failure Since 1989, or Steven Magic, whichever one. If you want to subscribe to the channel. That's basically all I got for tonight. I've been streaming for nearly an hour now. I'm gonna try to hit the 1 hour mark. So I got 4 minutes to fill. Did you ever think of who I look like, Jamie? I'd love to hear it. As long as it's not like Pee Wee Herman or like I can't think of that other actor's name that's really terrible looking. Steve Buscemi, yeah, that's his name. As long as it's not either one of those two, I'll be all right. I'm sure. But yeah, I'm all storied out. I got some other stories still hanging around. Maybe the epic legend one. What's his name? Well, thank you, Chris. Hello, Mr. Failed. Hello, one-eyed cat. Nice to see you. How are you doing this evening? I'm gonna try to hit the 1 hour mark with this stream, and then I guess I'll call it an evening because I don't think I've told like 3 stories tonight. I don't want to waste all my good stories on my first stream. I gotta hold something back. I still got the one that Chris mentioned, the knocking on the door story. That's pretty funny. Also involves my boss Gil. Let's see here. What other stories do I got? Oh yeah, I've got the time I was chasing a vehicle. I've got the flamingo story, which is also pretty good. Another one of my favorites, favorite memories. And if, like I said, if you guys have stories that you want to tell, you know, I've got an email address posted right down here at the bottom of the screen. I would love to receive a story from you, and then I'll read it on here. I'm good. I'd like to hear your failure in 1989, please. I was born in 1989. That's the failure. You can see the joke, I'm sure. That's basically all there is to that story. Once upon a time, in the distant year of 1989, pre-90s, I was born. Yeah, I can't remember much about that time, but it's all been downhill from there. Let me tell you what. Let's see here. That puts us at just about the 1 hour mark. I think I have about 30 seconds left. So let me do a closing. I'm Failure Since 1989. I like to collect and tell stories. Do you remember the conception? It's actually your father's failure, technically. I suppose you're right, one-eyed cat. It was technically my father's failure. And you know what? I thought for a long time that he thought as much, but you know, I'm not sure how to feel nowadays. Anyway, I'm Failure Since 1989. You can find me on YouTube. I don't have a whole lot of stuff. I'm mostly just some like small gameplay videos. Abortions had high failure rate in 1989. I wouldn't know. They didn't decide to go through with that with me, so here I am, living the life, trying to make the best of it. Is that a Samurai Champloo shirt? Yes, it is. It is a Samurai Champloo shirt. I got it off Redbubble for like $30. Most of my shirts came from Redbubble, so there's some fantastic stuff over there. This is not a plug, but you want good shirts, that's where you go.
I'm Failure Since 1989. You can find me on YouTube under either Failure Since 1999 or Steven Magic. Magic with a CK at the end, not just a C. I don't have a whole lot on there right now, but I hope to do this fairly regularly. I only work half a week, and then I'm off the rest of the half of the week. So maybe I'll try to do that during that time period. I don't know. I'll make a video in the future on my YouTube channel about the scheduling and stuff because I'm in kind of a weird place in my life right now. Another story about that another time. But thank you all for tuning in tonight. I appreciate you, One-Eyed Cat, Jamie, Chris, and all the others that I forgot to mention who were in here earlier. Thank you all so much for tuning in. This was a great first stream. I had a fantastic time, and I hope you all enjoyed hearing my stories. This video will be up on YouTube as soon as it's over. Hey, this is a 2-hour show. I don't know. One-Eyed Cat, I don't know if I can go for 2 hours. I mean, don't get me wrong. I would love to do like a 2-hour thing, but I didn't really prepare that much material because, this was like a first time thing for me. So, yeah, I didn't really prepare that much for this. Basically, all I had going into this was my music choice, my camera angle, how all that was going to be set up to look nice. That's basically all I had going in. I knew I was going to tell some stories, but I didn't know what stories. But that's all I had going into this. I guess we can make it go for a little bit longer if you guys want to hang around. But to be honest with you, I have no idea what to talk about. You want to end it prematurely on your first time. That's what usually happens with me on my first time. We don't need material. We're talking to you now. Well, I mean, hell, if you guys are going to stick around, I guess I could respond to your comments and whatnot. Like I said, I had not planned this far ahead. I planned maybe like 10 minutes worth of stuff, and somehow I stretched it into an hour. So that's good. Hey, you told me your first time story you should tell them. You mean like the V card? That first time? I don't want to. That's an embarrassing story. I don't know if I want to tell that one. No, that's okay. I'm supposed to be sleeping. I'm gonna wake up soon. Okay, that's fine, One-Eyed Cat. Like I said, I'll try to post a schedule on YouTube if you're really interested in this kind of stuff. I would love to have you as a subscriber because I'm gonna be honest, I don't have a whole lot because most of the stuff on there is just like really lame gameplay videos and stuff. Mostly like 30 to 40 seconds worth of gameplay videos. The story of my first time, I'll tell that next time. I gotta save some good material. That's an embarrassing story, but whatever. I'll put that out there. But I don't want to tell that right now because my stream. I'm trying to end the stream, I suppose. But that is a good suggestion. That's a great story. God, I'll tell that another time. What do you gotta wake up soon for, One-Eyed Cat? You've got me curious. Is it school, work? What do you got for me? I'm out of beer, so I'm drinking water now. Hydration. Always stay hydrated. It's the best thing you can do for yourself. I fell off the bed and came on myself. Beat that. Like just now, or was that like a story that happened? Because if that's like a whole story, send it. I would love to read that. Another time, not this time, but another time, like, tell me a story with a happy ending, please. With a happy ending? Oof, most of my stories kind of end in awkwardness. I'm gonna go hang out with some friends. Oh, that sounds fun, One-Eyed Cat. I hope you have a good time with your friends tomorrow, I guess. Yeah, it's not 12 o'clock yet where I am. I hope you have a good time with your friends tomorrow. Um, I don't want to say tell them about the channel because that feels like a shameless plug, but, have fun. It sounds like a great time. And Bronx Sushi. I don't know if I have a whole lot of good stories with a happy ending to tell because most of my stories end in like awkward encounters that no one ever speaks on again. Stuff like that. No, definitely not. You'll have to give me some time to think on that one. Like I said, I'm gonna try to do this semi regularly because I had a great time, and now that I'm getting used to it, this is the first time I've ever done like a stream or anything, and now that I'm finally getting used to it, uh, I would love to do this more in the future. So I'm gonna try to work out a schedule sometime, and you can find me on YouTube. It's either Failure Since 1989 or Steven Magic. I can't remember off the top of my head. Yeah, it's Steven Magic. Magick is how you spell it. And you can find me on YouTube. I've got a couple of really lame video game clips there. Well, thanks, Bronx Sushi. I'm a little drunk. I'm gonna be honest with you. This is making this a whole lot easier because it really brings down the anxiety when you're drunk. And I go downtown a lot, and I get drunk at the bars downtown, and I collect stories from random strangers. So that's about the experience I have with just like speaking and stuff. I've had a D&D group going for about a year and a half, and I'm the dungeon master, so I speak in front of a group there. So I guess that kind of helps a little bit. Um, if anybody would be interested, we're having a D&D meeting this Saturday. I guess I could try to stream that if anybody's interested. It's like 6 or 7 dudes, and we all get really drunk and roll dice and role play and stuff like that. It's fun. I think they'd be down for it. We play right here in this room at this table. It's a lot of fun. We've just started a brand new campaign. We had our first session, not last Saturday, but the one before that. Yes, One-Eyed Cat. Tabletop Dungeons and Dragons. I've got all my books stashed over here. I've created a world for this Dungeons and Dragons campaign that I'm running, and it's shaping up to be pretty good. I'm a little rough around the edges because only 5 are here. This ain't this Super Bowl halftime show. Well, I know that Bronx Sushi, but I'm just trying to talk. Get one-eyed sushi. Okay, Camden, settle down now. We're here to have a good time. We're not here to talk about prior convictions and stuff. Let's see. Yeah, we played Dungeons and Dragons here every Saturday. I had a group going for a year and a half. We kind of took a break because I fell on some harder times. And that's really toxic, Camden. We're not here to be toxic. We're here to chill and have a good time. I've had enough toxic stuff in my life once. I've had enough toxic stuff. Damn, you hate Munchtown. I've had enough toxic stuff to last me a lifetime. That's a story for another time, though, let me tell you. Because... tell me about it. If I knew how to get people out of here, I would do that, but I have no idea how to do that right now. That's something for the future, something I should have planned on. I didn't actually expect to have anybody watching, to be honest with you. But come on, Camden, there ain't no need for toxicity. We're all people just trying to live our lives, That's what I'm trying to do. Let me tell you what hard times I've fallen on lately. I mean, I'm not going to tell you about them, but my God, my life has been turned upside down in the last 6 months or so, and it's been awful. So No toxicity in my chat. Come on. Estevan Diaz. Is that you, Christian? And, yeah, I got the promotion, but then I got demoted like a year later. I'm sorry, One-Eyed Cat. I don't know how to boot people from my chat. Let's see here. I think we're just gonna end it here anyway, because I think we're gonna end it here because I'm trying to get off here. It's been like an hour now, and now I've got somebody toxic in my stream that I don't know how to get rid of. So I'm just gonna end it here. Y'all have a great night. You can find me on YouTube, and yeah, peace out. Peace out.